Now, you and me both have seen these crazy calisthenics endurance feats online. People doing upwards of 100 pull-ups in a single set, not to mention people doing several hundreds of push-ups in one go. Now, I'm not quite there myself, but seeing as how I'm able to do 30 plus bodyweight pull-ups in a single set without any hanging rest, and because I got a specific question asking me how I would program for pure calisthenics endurance, that's exactly the question I'll be answering today. How do you program for pure calisthenics endurance? So what I'd recommend if you want to go purely for endurance calisthenics is that you incorporate the following 4 elements. Number 1 is going to be AMRAP sets. AMRAP stands for as many reps as possible. These are going to be sets where you take it all the way till failure. You push as much as you can and you really give everything you've got in your gas tank. This is what I'd start my sessions out with. After you've done some AMRAPs, the second tool I'd recommend you incorporating is EMOM sets. EMOM stands for every minute on the minute, and during EMOMs you usually have pretty short rest periods and then you have a pretty high output. So for example, if you do an EMOM set for pull-ups, you might be doing 10 pull-ups, then have a short rest period that's less than a minute, right? Then go back to 10 pull-ups, then short rest period, right? And keep on doing it like so. What I would focus on for the EMOMs would be that you have a high output. So you're not too focused about rep quality. You just want to make sure you're really fatiguing yourself, that you're really just like getting in high output in terms of the number of reps you're pumping out. Now, third element I would incorporate is back-off sets. So this would be after you've done some AMRAPs, after you've done a certain duration of EMOM sets. After that, I would do some back-off sets, for example, for the pull-ups. Just to put an arbitrary number to it, let's say you would do 5 sets of 15 repetitions of the pull-ups. Before the back-off sets, I would not be too concerned with pure quantity. I would be more focused on quality, so good, clean technique for the reps and tempo, right? Not rushing too much. I mean, you can absolutely have some speed to it, but make sure form doesn't break down, right? Make sure that the tempo is somewhat controlled. That would be my preference. Now, last but not least, the fourth element I would incorporate is greasing the groove. So this would mean that throughout your day and generally throughout the week, I would incorporate just doing additional reps of whatever movement you're practicing. So if it's push-ups or whether it's pull-ups, you just, every time you go through the door, right, if you have a pull-up bar mounted to the door, for example, every time you go through, you do 5 or 10 or 15 pull-ups. And you do that on the way, let's say, to the kitchen and on the way back, on the way to the bathroom, on the way back. That becomes then a bit of a sort of psychological game. Do you really want to be checking the fridge another time to see what you've got in there? Do you want to grab a snack, whatever have you, if that's going to cost you possibly 15 plus 15 pull-ups, both ways, and do the same for push-ups. And this isn't necessarily to get in crazy volume. I would just keep the frequency quite high. So often throughout the day, you get started on some pull-up and push-up sets, but you don't need to do a crazy amount of reps. If you're able to break out 30 pull-up reps in an absolute AMRAP set, then maybe you want to do as many as 10, 15 per greasing the groove set, not necessarily that much more. Let's say 20 is pushing it a bit, right? So I'd rather get in higher frequency, but then lower volume, all things considered, per set for the greasing the groove method. By the way, if you're tired of spinning your wheels, spending countless hours each week in the gym, when you could easily reduce that number and still getting high quality training that will take you closer to your goals, I'd recommend that you check out my free email newsletter in the description down below, where you get access to daily tips that you can implement to make your strength training more effective. And for those of you that are truly committed to making progress, you can check out the second link in the description down below. That link takes you to my page where you could explore one-to-one coaching and you get the chance to book a zero commitment one-to-one call directly with me. During this short but completely free and zero commitment discovery call, we go over your training program and I'll help you as much as I can during this time to give you tips that you can implement straight off the bat to make your training more effective. But it's also a great way for us to connect in the case that you want to explore one-to-one coaching further. So those are probably the 4 most important elements I would incorporate if I was going to make a program that's based on purely endurance calisthenics. But I would also recommend a few things, and they go as follows. Number 1, when it comes to resting, I would at least dedicate 1 day per week for resting, like active rest day, not doing any type of training, because I believe that would be good for your central nervous system and frankly for your sanity. And another tip I would throw in here when it comes to purely endurance calisthenics is that I would work towards becoming proficient with passive rest techniques. So when you're doing, for example, push-up sets, I would become proficient with doing one-handed push-up top holds for resting in between push-up reps. And similarly for pull-up sets, I would become proficient at doing one-arm hanging rest. So that between pull-up reps, you can dangle from one arm at a time, sort of letting loose with the other hand, right, shaking out some of that lactic acid, so you can keep on going a bit longer than what you otherwise would have been able to. Something else worth keeping in mind is that there actually is some carryover between strength and endurance. So if you want to truly double down on endurance, or you just want to learn how you can maximize the return on investment, training both for strength and endurance at the same time, I'd recommend checking out this video right here.